X1.9 class solar flare is due to hit us tonight, mate. So if you guys want to go out and look at some beautiful auroras tonight and tomorrow night is going to be the night that you guys want to see this. But the power which is being ejected towards the Earth is absolutely magnificent. So we've got a G4 geomagnetic storm coming. Well, it's basically hitting us now. And we've got an S4 class solar radiation storm as well. So this is the strongest that we've seen since 2003. This thing is an absolute beast. And it is directly hitting us, mate. So do expect some radio blackouts and other strange things probably taking place. And again, for the UFO people, mate, keep your eyes up because you're probably going to see a lot of strange orb activity, plasmoid, right? Now, in the UK, up to the north of the UK, you're probably going to see some beautiful formations, but this is a very strong formation itself that we're getting hit with, and you're probably going to see some amazing auroras down the south as well. So do some time lapses, mate. Get outside, stay looking up to the skies, but also just be careful because the solar radiation which is being emitted right now is very powerful. So you might get some weird tingly sensations, can't sleep, tossing and turning, feeling a bit weird. It's because of this bad boy is doing it to you, man. So get outside.
My wife and I are at a stoplight. This is Port St. Lucie, Florida on the 15th of January, 2026. The bottom video is the negative from camera 2. This is from 2 cameras. Look at the aircraft closely. Look at the wings and look at, just doesn't make any sense.
Right, what I'm about to show you right now, there's a leaked Russian UFO report from 1982 that I'm about to read out for you. I'm not going to do any fancy editing. I'm just going to translate this, tell it how it is, and let your imagination do the picture building, right? So, what was observed? Across many independent reports, witnesses consistently described groups of bright lights, often 4 to 8 or more, and this is quite consistent with other sightings around the world. The colours, red, orange, yellowish, and sometimes white, which is again gets reported quite often. Formation behaviour, lights arranged in circle arcs, chains, and clusters, sometimes one larger light with several smaller ones. The motion, slow, steady movement, sudden stops, hovering or fading out, occasionally changing formation. Again, lots of other legacy reports around the same time explaining the same stuff. Duration, from a few minutes up to 30 to 40 minutes. Altitude, estimated from low horizon level up to high altitude. Sound, no engine noise reported, so completely silent. Right, brightness, compared to bright stars or flares, often pulsing. Again, that pulsing formation is something which is kind of echoed throughout a lot of reports in that time period. These objects were seen from cars, buses, roads, towns, and military installations. So this was a major mass sighting which took place by officers, radar operators, drivers, and civilians, simultaneously in different regions, sometimes hundreds of kilometers apart, which is absolutely phenomenal. And more notably, what happened in Poland recently over the course of a week to even a month, same stuff was taking place. Just at the ending of last year, same sort of lights, people seeing them all over the place, right? Crazy formations. Key witnesses, military officers, majors, captains, lieutenants, and colonels. This isn't just like one dude or a couple of people like, oh, I saw a light. These are high profile individuals which have all reported this, and again, this is a widespread sighting, which is incredible. Radar and communications personnel, drivers and patrol officers. Some reports included hand-drawn diagrams of the light formations, which are in the documents. I'll put in the description down below and in the comments if you want to go check them out. I'll leave them down there. Technical and radar findings. No corresponding radar targets were detected in most cases, so completely radar silent. No aircraft or missiles launches were confirmed in these areas, so none of them. No violations of airspace could be formally identified. Some reports mentioned temporary electronic anomalies, but power systems were later checked. Equipment was found to be functioning normally afterwards. And again, with many reports coming from nuclear bases over the years where they've kind of shut down nuclear power stations or nuclear missile sites, and then again they just kind of turn themselves back on again with no sort of faults, and it's just like a bit weird. Electromagnetic anomalies. Military exercises and missile launches considered unlikely due to the lack of records and wide geographic spread. And if these are all these kind of high profile military individuals, they would be knowing and would know if there's some sort of exercise taking place at that time period, and there was not. Some reports suggested upper atmosphere optical effects, others note reflections or unusual light refractions. Technical malfunctions largely ruled out due to multiple independent observers, so many people witnessed the same malfunctions taking place. And again, with a lot of legacy sightings and situations unfolding, this is something which is seen quite often. No single confirmed explanation was reached. Several reports explicitly state that the phenomenon could not be conclusively identified. Written in formal military language, these are official, not media or civilian UFO stories. These are big boy reports, mate, from big boy individuals, including timestamps, locations, rank, signatures, and stamps. Holy moly, mate. And again, this sighting, it just mimics through what we've had in the UK, to the US, to Brazil, to Sweden, to Germany, places like that. So this isn't just something which is European bound. Again, this is China and stuff like that as well. Amazing. Go to the comments, have a look at these documents. They're amazing.
What the fuck?
Whoa, what the heck? Oh. It just puffed out a circle.
Dude, I'm not kidding.
Capture it.
Oh my
It's
god.
moving sideways.
That's not a plane. Can't be.
It's under the cloud. Listen to that.
It's getting low here.
Hold on. It's turning again.
What is that? It's not
Just
right.
keep filming.
There, do you see it again?
Yeah, it's sliding, look. It's so low now. I don't know, it shouldn't be under the cloud like that.
No, it's after cutting back.
Listen, the sound changed.
Humming through the ground. You feel it?
I don't like this.
Another one.
In the early 1900s, a series of remarkable stone structures were discovered in remote locations around the world. These amazing artifacts, known as stone stargates, captivated the imagination of archaeologists, historians, and conspiracy theorists alike. Carved with intricate patterns and symbols, their true purpose remained shrouded in mystery. Ancient folklore, however, spoke of these stargates as devices used by civilizations from distant solar systems to travel across the cosmos. By the 1950s, almost all the stargates had vanished without a trace, fueling rumors of government cover-ups and hidden agendas. Some theorized that governments around the world systematically confiscated the stargates and concealed them in top-secret facilities. Their whereabouts remain unknown.
So you are telling me that an advanced empire once spanned the globe, erased from history books? Tartaria, towering architecture, free energy, giants, buried under mysterious mud floods. Believers point to old maps labeling Tartaria in Asia, grand buildings like star forts and World Fair pavilions as remnants. But historians say Tartaria was just a vague term for Central Asian regions, not a unified empire. No archaeological evidence of advanced tech. Those structures, built in the 19th century, well documented. Mud floods, exaggerated natural events, or urban legends. Maps don't record truth. They record what the map maker didn't understand.
And this is the truth that they've kept hidden from us.
Explain the wristwatches in Sumerian carvings 4,500 years ago, and they're wearing Casios.
They aren't watches. Look at the context. The Anunnaki are always holding a pine cone in one hand and a handbag in the other.
Yeah, the handbags. They're everywhere. Egypt, Mexico, even Göbekli Tepe.
It's a global icon for something they all saw. Think about it. If you traveled back in time with a laptop and a portable battery, how would a local carve that?
They'd carve a bag with a handle.
Exactly. And the watch, every time they're wearing it, they're touching the tree of life. Researchers think those were biometric interfaces, devices that allowed them to manipulate the frequency of living matter.
So they were literal tools for genetic engineering.
Our ancestors didn't have imagination. They carved what they saw. They carved lions, grain, and ships. Why would they invent a handbag for a god?
It's a toolkit.
It's a mobile power source. We call it mythology because if we accept its technology, we have to admit we're the ones who are primitive. We aren't the peak of civilization. We're just the survivors.
And if they had the tech, where is it now?
The Tartaria mud flood theory is a controversial hypothesis that suggests a catastrophic event took place in the 18th or 19th century, resulting in a massive flood of mud that covered entire cities and wiped out entire civilizations. According to this theory, the civilization of Tartary, which was once a powerful empire that covered a large part of the Eurasian continent, was destroyed by this event, and its existence was deliberately erased from history by the ruling elite. One of the main pieces of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the presence of mysterious buildings and structures in various parts of the world that seem to be older than the officially recognized timeline of human history. These structures, known as megaliths, are often made of large stone blocks that would have been impossible to move and erect using the technology available at the time they were supposedly built. Another piece of evidence cited by proponents of the Tartaria mud flood theory is the strange architectural features found in many old buildings in Europe and elsewhere. These features, such as strange windows and doorways, seem to have no practical purpose and are unlike anything found in modern architecture. Proponents of the theory argue that these features are remnants of an older civilization that was destroyed by the mud flood. There are also claims that the Tartaria mud flood theory is supported by geological evidence. Some researchers have pointed to the presence of sedimentary layers in certain regions of the world that seem to indicate a massive flood event took place at some point in the past. Other researchers have claimed that the soil samples from various parts of the world contain high levels of unusual substances, such as iridium, that are typically associated with meteor impacts or other catastrophic events. Proponents of the Tartaria mud flood
The mud flood is actually a worldwide earthquake. An earthquake that was so powerful that it liquefied the soil and civilization sunk. Destruction all around the whole realm. Think about like the Roman ruins. The Roman ruins had to be dug up. They had to be excavated. Easter Island and like the Moai statues, there was a time where people thought they were just heads. And then it was very recently, people said, guess what? They have bodies. And in some cases, the bodies go 20 feet underground. Said you go look around the Middle East, there's some gate in Iraq, ancient Babylon. The gate is like 25 feet tall, and it's literally buried under the ground in the 1850s. They had to dig it up. That is insane. I mean, that is insane. Like, Göbekli Tepe. I think they said they only excavated about 5% of this place. Again, 20-foot tall megaliths under the ground. So what the modern archaeology says, their best theory is somebody buried their own temple. What? Buried everything? Evenly. Like, it's literally completely under the ground. It's not like a pyramid where people could actually cover up stuff and then there would still be a mound. It's like even across the world. Who does that? No one. Never. Why? Then you go to modern cities, and I think this is when it gets the craziest, is there's stuff buried around modern cities. Evidence that basements are like halfway under the street. They're basements, but they're really not basements because there's windows that are kind of at ground level and sometimes slightly below ground level. And then sometimes they brick them up. Sometimes the street goes up with the building. Like the windows literally disappear as the street goes up. That's weird. There's underground parts of every major city around the United States. Underground Atlanta, underground Portland, underground Sacramento, underground Seattle. All these West Coast cities with undergrounds, highly suspect. They seriously have built their cities upon older cities. what we're told is the people before us were more primitive than us. Obviously, they don't have the advanced excavating equipment and all that stuff. And yet it was very common back in the day to build things underground. Wouldn't it be harder to do that without all the heavy equipment we have now? But we don't do that now for some reason. When if you think you're more advanced than the previous civilization, well, it'd be likely that you could do the same things, except you could do it faster and cheaper because you have better equipment, right? You got better tools. But they don't do that. So I think that's what leads us to believe that we are on the other side. We are on the wrong side of the peak of civilization.
So apparently Beyonce kidnapped and blackballed Sia.
What the fuck?
Yeah, so in 2016, Sia puts when is the last time you heard about Sia? Never.
Very time ago. But she was number one on radio for a minute.
Yeah, exactly, until this. So in 2016, she puts out a random tweet.
Yeah.
Like, no correlation. It's one of those ones where it's like eggs, bacon, grease.
Oh, it's a code.
It's code. It's code. I'll show you the code, bro.
Yeah. Before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys. Their phones were being spied on. Click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately.
It says, baby, everything your own nice cat eats, period. Kangaroo is dead. Nowhere and purple penguins every day. My egg.
What the fuck?
Right?
Yeah.
You take every single letter of the first word
and put a capital.
No. And it spells Beyonce at me.
No way.
And in one of the interviews when Beyonce was talking about Sia, look what she said.
Can we interview Sasha?
No, she's never done an interview. I don't know if she ever will, because I don't really think I would like her interview.
No way.
I don't think I really would want her to be in an interview.
Across the world and cities in Europe, Asia and the Americas, a noticeable pattern repeats itself. I mean those buildings with windows below street level, with doors that open directly into earth, entire floors buried underground, yet clearly designed to be above it. Some believe this points to a global catastrophe that didn't just cover buildings in mud, but may have erased an entire civilization, the very civilization that originally built these structures. Intrigued? This civilization was known as Tartaria, which you can actually find in a lot of maps before around 1800s. Even more curious, the architectural styles that have remained from those years today, massive stone buildings, intricate designs, sometimes seem far too advanced for the time periods they're assigned to. Some suggest that this catastrophe wasn't so ancient at all and aligns with the period when the Tartarian Empire started disappearing from maps and books. And it's not just the buildings. Strange soil layers, sudden deposits of mud and sand, and buried infrastructure show up across continents in ways that natural geology struggles to explain. In city after city, from St. Petersburg to Paris and New York, older buildings and excavations reveal a hidden layer of truth. Entire floors being found beneath the street-level surface. Symmetrical facades, almost as if the real ground floor is now buried. Basement entrances that clearly used to be street level before. The curious part is that despite this clear evidence, there are often no records explaining why or how the land around us rose so dramatically. But if you dig, literally and historically, you'll find countless cases of urban excavations. There are stories of cities built atop other cities, and timelines that just don't quite line up. Now, before we get to some mud flood photographs from the past, I want to show you some modern-day clues hiding in plain sight. These are just random photos from Google Street View. Ordinary streets in ordinary cities around the world. It's right there. Everywhere you look, especially in the older districts. Entire streets where windows are bricked up underground. Staircases descend unnaturally below today's sidewalks, and oddly placed vents hint at hidden levels no longer accessible. Ground floors that seem too low or too deep. Is there any rational explanation as to why we would intentionally build like this? And if you have a theory, drop it in the comments below. But it feels like we've been walking on a layer of history, maybe even multiple layers. Interestingly, it appears that in some cities a better job was done hiding it, or perhaps they were less affected. Now if we rewind further into photographs from after the 1800s and early 1900s, a new layer unfolds. Major cities were undergoing massive excavations. Entire blocks being cleared, mud being dug out from around buildings and streets. Often labelled as restorations, but what exactly were they uncovering? Why was so much effort spent digging out cities? Why were these events so common? And why is it barely mentioned in the history books? The mud flood theory challenges us to rethink what we know about time, civilization, and memory. Was there a global event that reshaped the surface of the Earth and erased part of our story? And what could have caused this event, whether natural, man-made, or a bit of both? These buried buildings may be clues. The mud flood is thought to have occurred sometime between the late 1700s and mid-1800s, possibly in waves, with signs pointing to major resets around 1812-1840. And even the mysterious orphan train era of the 1850s. Were these just coincidences, or clues of a forgotten catastrophe? A massive event hidden just beneath the surface of official history. And now that you've seen the evidence for yourself, does it seem compelling enough to you? If it does, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video. The more people start questioning, the closer we get to uncovering the forgotten chapters of our past.
You know, things get really weird when you start thinking about mud floods, liquefying of the terrain. What was happening between like the 1860s and the 1920s? You got all these fires, you got all these floods, all these hurricanes, all these storms, and you got the Dust Bowl. What was the experiment? I mean, there were power lines all over the place. And it goes to show you that nobody was thinking that they're putting power lines all over the place. These advanced buildings that are just absolutely stunning, and then you got power lines all over the place? Doesn't make any sense. You wouldn't build a building that is harnessing water energy and all about the water and the beauty of the earth and then put power lines all over the place over here. Well, let's say an electrical storm occurred on the earth, some massive electrical storm. That could actually cause everything to turn into liquid too. If you add enough heat, you can turn things into liquid. I could get the reflection off of this from the sun onto the earth. I could then cause things to turn to liquid. And it's interesting too, because they don't allow you to experiment with high static fields in 2024 if you're around power lines, because the power lines will completely disintegrate. So then you start to sit there and think, okay, well, maybe high static fields turned everything to mush. And then we're on layers and layers and layers and layers and layers of mush.
They've been hiding the true answer to this question from us. Why are these doors and windows halfway in the ground? In the early 1800s, strange things were happening all over the world. Cities were being dug out from under layers of mud and debris. Buildings were being uncovered that were buried up to their rooftops in mud. A global disaster buried entire civilizations, erasing them from history. This is where it gets unsettling. The Tartarian Empire. This empire, often shown on old maps, was an advanced civilization in Europe and Asia. They built amazing structures, had advanced technology, and could harness energy from the atmosphere. Many believe the mud flood was a deliberate attempt to erase Tartaria from history, hiding their advanced technology and knowledge. But it gets even darker. Look at the world's fairs of the late 1800s and early 1900s. These elaborate buildings, which looked like ancient architecture, were said to be built in just a few years. After the fairs, they were supposedly demolished. Was this to erase evidence of an advanced pre-existing civilization? The Chicago World Fair in 1893 and the St. Louis World Fair in 1904 showcased magnificent architecture. Official records claim these buildings were made with plaster and wood. Do these really look like temporary buildings to you? Their sudden disappearance makes you wonder, were they actually parts of the Tartarian Empire, disguised as temporary exhibits and then destroyed to hide their true origins?
So you want to know more about the mud flood? That's good. That's real good. Alright, listen to this. So the mud flood was a catastrophic event that happened roughly 150 years ago, wiping out many civilizations and burying many buildings under mud. Many ancient structures that we see today was once buried. All over the world, you can find these buried structures. And we literally had to dig them out from the mud. And every now and then, we stumbled across sinkholes, uncovering buried buildings. And this is the reason why so many buildings have windows partly buried in the ground. If you notice with this one, the windows get smaller and smaller. And sometimes you see buildings with windows like this. Trust me, that's not a basement. Because if you keep digging, you will see the original front door. Oh my days. So anytime you come across buildings like this, you're dealing with mud flood.
I need you to answer me this question. There was a global mud flood and fires that destroyed buildings in the 1800s. But was direct energy used? And are we seeing history repeat itself?
The Marianas Trench is the deepest part of the world.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, yeah.
We haven't even explored, what, like 80% of the ocean?
I was reading about this too.
For all we know, the Cthulhu could live in the, in the Marianas Trench.
100%.
Yo, for all we know, the city of Atlantis could be in the Marianas Trench.
Yeah.
But we don't know what's down there.
Bro,
That's the
do you
thing.
know, there was a, you know that anglerfish with the light sticking up?
Yeah, and Nemo.
I didn't know that was an actual fish until there's pictures of it like underwater and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's a real fish.
It lives in the Mariana Trench. I'm like, yo, what the hell?
Like, who knows what's down there, right? Yo, scientists can tell us more about the moon than they can tell us about the Earth's water.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can tell us more about the moon than the Earth's water, which is crazy.
You know, in the Mariana Trench too, they found, I don't know, it was in 2011 or something. They found a rock structure that looked like a UFO, fam.
Damn, what?
Yeah. And I was reading up on it, I'm like,
where did they find this?
In the Mariana Trench.
Where?
Yeah.
Damn,
it was like
crazy.
a rock structure that was kind of built like a UFO.
Damn.
And I was like, yo.
Is this the smoking gun of aviation's biggest mystery? A bent propeller blade found on Nakumaroro Island. It matches Amelia Earhart's Lockheed Electra, but the coral rock has grown over it. Geology says this rock takes 5,000 years to form. Did she crash in 1937 or a different timeline? Welcome to Chrono Archives.
This has been hidden by mainstream media. There is more about ancient Egypt than meets the eye, and it revolves around the sunken city off the coast of Egypt called Heracleion. But here are the fascinating details. Early European travelers account that during their first visits to Egypt, they would often be told stories of this major port city called Heracleion, where the gods would guide people to the spiritual realm. According to one druid, it is mentioned in countless records at the Vatican. Here is where things get scary. In the year 2000, underwater archaeologists made a groundbreaking discovery. They discovered Heracleion. Using advanced diving techniques and sonar mapping, they uncovered massive ruins as well as pyramids of the same nature as the Giza Plateau. They also found statues of gods and intricate stone carvings of new hieroglyphs. But that's not all. The divers said that when they approached the pyramids, their equipment began to fail. Their radios went static, and they were struggling to stay awake. The team speculates that the pyramids emit powerful electromagnetic and spiritual waves. Is this another instance of ancient advanced technology becoming unstable due to the disappearance of these civilizations?
And they just start making stuff up.
Yeah.
Like that Neil Armstrong guy. Have you seen him on the talk shows?
Neil Armstrong, you mean the first man to walk on the moon?
Talk about a fish story.
Yeah.
Man, and they're buying it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Heard about this?
No.
Why you're not supposed to touch other people's elbows?
No, what?
Oh, you never heard of this?
No.
I thought you know this. In voodoo rituals, or in voodoo itself, there's one specific thing that you have to avoid. It's rubbing elbows with somebody.
Okay.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
So there's this video that went viral on TikTok, and it's of this guy. He's in New Orleans. Now, I don't know if you know about New Orleans like that, but there's a lot of people that practice witchcraft, voodoo, all these different things.
Okay.
Now, there's this one guy.
Before continuing, I wanted to warn you guys. Their phones were being spied on. Click on this icon, then on more. If you see it, delete it immediately.
He's trying to convince a stranger he can tell him his future. All he has to do is rub elbows with him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The whole purpose of it and the reason it holds so much danger is because if you rub elbows with somebody and somebody that knows what they're doing with it, they can switch their destiny with you.
No
So it's called
way.
a destiny swap.
What the?
So imagine you're back in elementary school. Whoever you're sitting beside, you rubbed elbows with, you might have swapped destinies with that person.
Yo, I
Wild.
definitely had one of those moments too.
Deep in Siberia, 1.5 kilometers underground, miners found this pattern embedded in solid rock. It looks exactly like a printed circuit board or a microchip. But this rock is 500 million years old. That is the Cambrian period, before life even existed on land. Is this a freak of nature or ancient high technology? Welcome to Chrono Archives.